Have you ever wondered about the ancient peoples mentioned in the Bible? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the Moabites, a group whose history is both complex and captivating. Imagine a tale filled with survival, divine judgment, and unexpected redemption. That's the story of the Moabites, from their shocking origins to their lasting impact on biblical history. They are much more than a footnote in Scripture. As we journey through their history, we'll uncover surprising connections to key biblical figures, explore archaeological discoveries that shed light on their culture, and even see how their story intersects with the lineage of Jesus Christ. Before we unravel this intriguing narrative, let me ask you this. What if I told you that the story of the Moabites begins with a scandalous tale that might make you question its place in the Bible? Brace yourself, because the origin of this ancient people is about to challenge everything you thought you knew about biblical genealogy. The origin of the Moabites. The story of Moab's birth is one that might make you uncomfortable, but it's a crucial part of understanding God's complex plan for humanity. Let's turn to Genesis 19. After the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot, Abraham's nephew, escapes with his two daughters to a cave in the mountains. Believing they are the last people on earth, Lot's daughters make a desperate and misguided decision. They get their father drunk and lie with him on consecutive nights, both becoming pregnant. The older daughter gives birth to a son named Moab, the father of the Moabites. This disturbing story serves multiple purposes. First, it shows the consequences of living outside of God's design for family and sexuality. But it also highlights God's ability to work through human failure and bring about his purposes. Despite their ignoble beginnings, the Moabite lineage eventually leads to Ruth, who becomes the great-grandmother of King David and an ancestor of Jesus Christ. It's a powerful reminder that God's grace can redeem even the most broken situations. The land and the people. Now let's take a journey to the ancient land of Moab. Picture rolling hills, fertile plateaus, and rugged mountains overlooking the Dead Sea. This land, located in modern-day Jordan, was more than just real estate. It was a crucial hub for trade and cultural exchange, connecting Africa, Asia, and Europe. Moab's proximity to Israel created a complex relationship between the two nations, with frequent interactions ranging from conflict to intermarriage, as seen in the story of Ruth. The Moabites were similar to the Israelites in many ways. Archaeological findings show that their material cultures, pottery, building styles, and even language were remarkably similar. Yet, God placed these nations side by side for a reason. Deuteronomy 2:9 reveals that God commanded the Israelites not to harass the Moabites, reflecting his larger plan for the nations. Let's dust off our shovels and dive into the world of Moabite archaeology. One of the most significant discoveries is the Mesha Stele, or the Moabite stone, a 9th century BC inscription that provides a Moabite account of events mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 3. This artifact not only offers a glimpse into Moabite history, but also provides extra biblical evidence for the house of David, showing how intertwined the histories of Israel and Moab really were. Excavations in ancient Moab have also uncovered temples, pottery, and evidence of religious practices. These findings challenge us to see the Moabites as more than just bad guys in Israel's story. They were a complex people with their own history, art, and beliefs. The relationship between Israel and Moab was like a family drama, filled with conflict and reconciliation. In the book of Numbers, the Moabite king Balak, fearing Israel's power, hires the prophet Balaam to curse them. But God turns the curse into a blessing. Later, during the time of the judges, Moab oppresses Israel for 18 years before being defeated by Ehud. Yet despite this history of animosity, there were moments of cultural exchange and even acceptance. The story of Ruth, a Moabite who becomes an ancestor of Israel's greatest king, shows the potential for reconciliation and mutual blessing. The story of Moab forces us to grapple with deep theological questions. It reminds us that God's plan of redemption often involves unexpected people and circumstances. Ruth's inclusion in the lineage of Jesus is a powerful foreshadowing of how the gospel reaches all nations, not just Israel. Throughout their history, the Moabites were both enemies and neighbors to the Israelites, but God's redemptive purposes were always at work. As Isaiah and Jeremiah prophesy, Moab will ultimately be restored, pointing to a future where all nations will be gathered into God's kingdom. Lessons for today. So what can we learn from the story of the Moabites? First, It challenges us to break down cultural barriers and extend hospitality to those who are different from us. Just as Ruth crossed cultural and national boundaries to follow the God of Israel, we are called to welcome others, regardless of their background. Second, it reminds us of the power of redemption. No matter our past, God's grace is always at work, offering us second chances. Finally, it shows that God's plans often unfold in unexpected ways, and He can use even the most unlikely people to fulfill His purposes. Conclusion: the history of the Moabites is more than just an ancient story. It's a mirror that reflects God's sovereign plan for humanity. Their story of judgment, redemption, and ultimate inclusion in God's kingdom offers us valuable lessons about grace, reconciliation,